it would help if I unmute my mic as I'm giving this intro, I think. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Next to the Floor. My name is Harrison. I will be your host for this evening. I am joined, as usual, as always, by the ever incomparable, the indefatigable good guy, Gary Knoxderry, a.k.a. Spider Pig, a.k.a. Nope, that's all I got. Hi, Gary.
Woo! Hey, what's that on your? What is that? What is that on your chest?
Oh,
Chest
it's a faux tattoo.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm tooling around with ideas and things. I figured it might be time.
That one, 'cause I know we were talking earlier.
It's cool. I'm digging it. I don't know if it's the one, but I'm also, very indecisive as far as embellishments are concerned.
No, so you're going for the left side, the left side of your body for this new tattoo venture, I see.
Well, no, not specifically. I just figured that a row of hearts or whatever would do best over the heart. If I were going to have a health bar, it would be right here.
Wow. Yeah. Oh no, definitely. I can see that as a health bar. What about? Would you get it in a color because of the hearts? Would you get what about red hearts? Would you do that with black outline?
I also considered that. Oh wait, hold on. I will show everyone. Here's our not sponsor for today. Everybody, stay tuned.
So everybody, look how long Harrison's plants are
So,
getting, and he's growing them very well.
This whole adventure is brought to you courtesy of the lovely people at Inkbox. Ooh, check them out at inkbox.com. The tattoos are pretty cool. They last anywhere between anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks. So, I should also put my headphones back in because I can't hear any words you're saying if you're talking to me.
Yeah, I was trying to say that. You know what? Never mind. I wasn't saying anything. I wasn't saying anything bad about you. You're good. No, I was just saying when you came back, I was saying that while you were gone, I was letting the people know how great of a gardener you are because, when we started this show, I don't think those plants were so long.
Well, when we started the show, it was literally just this guy back here. And since the start of the show, he has grown to that mason jar over there, which is now all the way down here on the floor. So I've got to do something with that. And he's sprouting a whole bunch up there. This guy, I split it into 3 separate plants. So he's up here. I think I'm going to split that one again and put the other half back in my bedroom. And then I've got my spider plant is doing good. My whatever that one's called is looking great. My jade plant is doing good. My herb garden has, unfortunately, most of it didn't survive the great spider mite plague of 2021. But I still have my rosemary and my mint and my green onions, so that's cool. But we'll see what happens.
Anyways, back to Inkbox.
Anyway, so Inkbox. So
our hashtag not sponsored.
yeah, I've got these. I've got 2 other ones that I've got to check out. So, this is compostable. Cool. So I've got this one, which is just some dice. Here, I'll show you, Gary. And so this is what it starts out like.
Okay,
It's
you got a D20, a D6.
yeah, a set of gaming dice. So it starts out like this, and they're like these light blue colors. They're pretty cool. And then when you apply them, they go to like this dark blue black over the course of like 24 hours.
That's your next pet that you're gonna try.
Yeah, I think I might do it like back here.
You should do it a little bit lower.
Well, I was just holding it for example. And then I also have this one. I don't actually know what it is. I think it's a flower. It's hard to see. I thought it was going to be a lot longer, but it's not. So I think I might do it like here.
On your face.
Right there on my face.
Both sides.
Yeah. Oh, I should get another one and just go both sides. Just to see what happens. Just to see what it's about. Hello, Dante. Welcome to the Chizat. So today, we mentioned this last episode that we were going to talk a little bit about. Oh, thank you for donating the 69 bits. Wow. Nice. I don't think my alerts are up and running the way that they need to, unfortunately. Oh, this is a test. Hold on. Let's check that one. There we go. Oh, they're working. I just don't have any sounds attached to them. That's why. We were going to talk about Dave Chappelle's new comedy special, The Closer? What's it called?
Yep,
The Closer, and all the controversy surrounding it. And boy, oh boy, do I have thoughts and things to things to say. Well, so did you get a chance to watch it?
I didn't watch. Okay, so I've seen some of the quotes and some of the, the controversial quotes, that we were probably soon to be talking. But I still have not had time to actually sit down and watch it. But I bet you have.
You are correct. I did. I have, in my mornings on my commute into either the city or down to Braintree, I unfortunately have a whole boatload of time to entertain myself by watching various things on Netflix and YouTube. So I did get to watch it, and so let's start by saying that yes, thank you. It's complicated, right? Because I like and enjoy Dave Chappelle as a comedian. I've always enjoyed his comedy. I've always found it to be very I don't want to use the word poignant, but I'm going to anyway because I can't think of another word. But I've always found it to be very poignant in the sense that it lends itself to bringing up discussions surrounding race. I think like he does a really great job of bringing that issue and the issues of Black people to the forefront of his comedy. There's a whole another thing that I'm going to talk about as far as like bringing that up to his comedy or bringing that to the forefront of his comedy in the long run. But my main conflict with him and this particular comedy special, is that in watching it, right, the total runtime of his show is like an hour or so, and he spends a good 40-something%, like 28 minutes of his comedy special making jokes at the expense of like the LGBT, in particular like the trans community, and I think by and large, that is a problem. And here is why it's a problem. One, because he's making these jokes at the expense of the trans community. I think that's kind of, that right there is the main issue, right? Is that like who was it? I know I watch Bob the Drag Queen and Peppermint, two drag queens out of New York. They have like their own little podcast radio show that they do every other week, and they were talking about this, and Bob says pretty eloquently that, you know, the issue with Dave Chappelle and a lot of comedians is that his success is predicated on, like, success of his jokes, especially in this context, are predicated on the suffering of, like, the trans and queer communities, which are already, like, suffering as is. So to continue that, like, continue egging on that situation is not really a good look.
Definitely. I have a question, and I have a follow-up question. How do you feel about because like I talked to multiple people about this issue, and I was like, they told me that they've seen that they feel like the LGBTQ community is almost split, not necessarily down the middle, but it's like the community feels like there's some who support Dave, and, you know, there's some who's completely canceling, you know. So how do you feel about the ones that are not necessarily supportive, but protective, if I should say?
Okay, so that's, I think, a very, very, very good question, and I'm glad you asked that, because I do actually have thoughts on this one. So, you know, my main issue with that, like, that level of protection, right? It makes me think a lot of, you know, if you think back to when, like, the abuse scandal between Chris Brown and Rihanna, or like R. Kelly and all of these, like, underage girls or whatever, or really any instance of abuse, right? There's always some contingent. It's usually like a vocal minority, but they're very vocal, who come out, like, especially if you look at something like the Chris Brown abuse situation, right? There was this vocal minority of people running through the comments, like, especially like women in general, running through the comments saying things, you know, like, oh, blah, 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 I wish he would hit me.
Yes.
You know, so that, you know, I think there's more to it than that, but, like, it gives me those kind of vibes, and so I understand in some sense, like, why people are so quick to rush and defend people who we suddenly cancel, or who are who are in the process of being canceled, right? Like, if you think about, let's say, for example, like, there's something in your life that you've been attached to for a good portion of your life, right? So let's say, like, your favorite musician, or your favorite comedian, even, for that matter, right? You've grown up with this musician or comedian or artist or author or whatever. They, like, their works, their product, whatever they've put out into the universe has, like, largely shaped you as an individual. You know, like, you really connected with their music, their stories, what have you. Like, a lot of your friendships are based off of those things. Some of your best memories are based off of, like, experiences within the realm of that thing. And all of a sudden, to have, like, that one aspect of your life, oh, my PC needs to be restarted to finish setting up this device. I will wait. Thank you. My gaming services just got updated though, so I'm going to check that out later. So that's exciting. But so let's just say like all of a sudden that like one aspect of your life was thrown into this like column of it suddenly being seen as negative. Right, so basically what that means now, and why a lot of people are so quick to run to the defense of people who have problematic views or whatever, or suddenly have problematic views, it's because, right, if you think about it, all of a sudden, more than many aspects of your life now are called into question. Right, so like let's say your favorite artist or whatever was Chris Brown or R. Kelly. Right, let's say you had a wedding, right, and you danced to "Step in the Name of Love" by R. Kelly, right, at your wedding, and you sang "I Believe I Can Fly" when you were in elementary school choir. Yikes! Ooh. There's a whole thing there. But, right, you've got all of these great fond memories associated with, like, R. Kelly and his music and all of its impact on your life. All of a sudden to have all of those moments and memories be tainted by the fact that, you know, R. Kelly is a scummy human being, suddenly. Right, so that's hard for people. Like that sudden change and sudden paradigm shift is really difficult for a lot of people to grasp and hold. Right, like that is. You think of like the sudden resurgence of like I say sudden resurgence very loosely of like like white flight and like resurgence of like racism in our country. It's because the ideals of the one group are suddenly thrown in to question, and people have a hard time accepting and balancing those things, so they try to hold on to what they can and say like, oh, it wasn't actually that bad, maybe he's not that bad of a guy, blah 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 blah. You know, because they're not trying to defend Dave Chappelle as like the person. They're trying to defend their memories of Dave Chappelle or R. Kelly or whomever as it affected their own personal life.
Definitely. One thing that I've noticed that's different, and not necessarily, well, it is different, but different in this situation because, I'm not saying it's different. What I'm trying to say, the interesting difference is, you know how recently Dave Chappelle said that he's willing to speak to the trans community?
I have an article pulled up about that. Yes, I do know how he has said that.
Yes. So there you go. There's. I wanted to transition here, but I'm the host. I'm the one that's asking the questions.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to transition to this question. What do you feel? How do you feel that's gonna that go if they organize something, or what do you think that will transpire during this talk?
Well,
Not
so
necessarily,
this conversation. So here's my issue, and here's what I take umbrage with. Like having at this stage in the game, right? There's no point in having the conversation because, like, as Dave Chappelle has said, that he's willing to discuss the closer with trans community, but says he's not bending to anybody's demands. So I think in his mentality, right, like, and this is the main issue, is that in that mentality, he's expecting to walk into this conversation with the trans community coming at him with a list of demands saying like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to donate all of your money to blah 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 blah, you need to backpedal and remove all of this content, blah 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 blah. Like that in and of itself is problematic, right? Because he's already got the defense up rather than going into the conversation looking to like learn and engage and understand why what he has said is dangerous and problematic.
Definitely. Definitely.
And I think part of it, and it's not part of it, and it's the whole entire thing. Part of the issue with Dave Chappelle is that he's a very well-spoken man, but a lot of
he can be very charismatic. That's why he's popular as a comedian. Like, yeah, he's well spoken, but a lot of people have been attracted to him as a comedian because he is those types that can get up on the stage and kind of just say whatever he wants. Not whatever he wants, but like, yeah, he does say whatever he wants. Point in case, what we're talking about now. But like say whatever, and then people would be like, wow, yeah, kind of like, I'm not trying to compare Dave Chappelle to Donald Trump, but like Donald Trump just got up on stage and just like said whatever he wanted and people followed him. Like Dave Chappelle was one of those types. But now, I mean, he's a little bit more intelligent than Donald Trump, But it does matter what you say in like on stage in front of a large community that
Well, and I think another large part of the issue is that, a lot of what he says, though very, like, on the surface, sounds very smart and well thought of, or well thought through. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, but it's just like still, I get it, because it's like you're still attacking marginalized communities.
Well, it's not even that. It's when, well, it is that, but it's also like when it's kind of like, it's kind of like, I don't really know what to say it, or how to say it eloquently, but I think a lot of what he says lacks nuance. Like, he is a person very similar to the likes of, and I hate to draw this comparison, but the likes of like a Joe Rogan or Ben Shapiro or any of David Dobrik, any of those other like, Bill Maher, that's another good one. Those like talking heads who just lack nuance, right? Like when you hear what he says, like on its face, it sounds good. It looks good. It sounds good. Right? But when you take when you take a step back and think about the things that he or they have said, none of it holds any weight at all. Right? So, like, for example, so he and a lot of, and this is, I think the hardest thing to deal with, because it's hard to notice it when you're in the moment, but he and a lot of these talking heads deal in, like, they are master classes in false equivalency, right? Like, that's their whole entire thing, and they do it so well that you would never know that it's happening, right? So, for example, there was I think in another one of his specials, I forget, but he was talking about how, and I apologize to all of our viewers at home, but a lot of the words that we're going to use here in a second are pretty like, so cover your ears if it offends you. I apologize. But so, he is going about his whole entire shtick. I think this is back when he was doing the Chappelle show, about how he can basically every single episode is just him saying the N-word left, right, and center. And then there's one skit that he's going to drop the word faggot in there, and one of his writers or like producers or somebody, Comedy Central or whomever, pulls him aside and says, like, no, like, definitely can't do that, definitely can't say that, whatever. And so he asks and like this is part of one of his like stand-up bits, right? He asks his producer, writer, or whatever, like, how come he can say the N-word with impunity, right? Like, he can just say it whenever he wants, but he can't say the word faggot, right? And his director, producer, whomever, turns to him and says, well, you know, you can't because you're not gay. And Dave responds or retorts with, yeah, but I'm not a nigger. Right? So like on its face, while that argument on its face makes sense, right? So like he says that the entire audience is like, oh my god, yeah, of course you're right. Like that makes so much sense that like A equals B, B equals C, C equals D. Right? The problem, the issue within that comes in that when you look at like what he's actively saying, like the arguments that he's making, is that if only, and again, I apologize for the verbiage, but you know, this is what it is. Like if he says that only niggers can say the word nigger, right? Therefore, only faggots can say the word faggot. Right? But that's not the case. Right? Because in that, what he does is separate N-word and black people. It makes them two different classifications of people. Whereas, you know, like, black people are totally, you know, there's even a debate in amongst the black community about, you know, who can say what or whatever. But, you know, that is a word that we as a black community have taken and made our own. Whereas the word faggot is the word that we in the LGBT community have taken and made our own, right? That does not mean that if A, then B, if C, then D, right? That doesn't give you carte blanche to just say it just because, like, this, you know, like, it when you look at that argument as a whole, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, right. It doesn't work in the reverse. And that's the other issue in that too. Like if you tried to put the reverse on that, if you put the contrapositive on it, this is logic 101. If you tried to go about that argument in the reverse, it doesn't hold up at all.
Not at all. At all.
Right? So, you know, like that's my main issue, I think, with gentlemen like Dave Chappelle, is that he comes off being very, like, and you know, a lot of the things that he says, for what it's worth, like, are very thought-provoking and do cause you to think and do force a discussion around things surrounding race. And he's very recently gotten into like queer spaces for whatever reason, but you know, none of it makes any sense. Another example, you know, I think in this special, he talks about, you know, how he's Team TERF, which, like, why? Red flags, sirens abound. And then goes to, like, kind of gives the definition for, you know, what a TERF is, and he says that, you know, like, TERFs don't hate trans women, they just view that gender as a fact, which that doesn't make any sense, which is why, you know, like, he's on J.K. Rowling's side of the thing, but, you know, he believes that trans women are women. So, you know, that's another moment where you have to say, like, whoa, hold on. Like, pick a lane. Like, which side of this, like, aisle are you fighting on? Are you fighting with TERFs, who are trans exclusionary radical feminists who aren't here to include trans people in their conversation? Or do you believe that trans women are women? Like, you can't have it both ways.
Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag.
And then, in what makes this whole entire thing even worse is that he goes on to try to, like, absolve himself of all of his, you know, and this is how you know it's problematic, is because he goes to try to absolve himself of all of the things that he's saying by giving like literally like singular anecdotal, like a singular anecdotal sort of deal about, you know, one of his good friends who's a trans woman. And goes on and on and on about like his trans, goes on about how he has a trans friend. I'm sure we've all heard that phrase at one point in time before. You know, he can't be, you know, he can't be anti-LGBT or against the trans community because he has a trans friend.
Yeah, because I have a trans friend, yeah.
Right?
Like, oh, my friend's black.
Right. So, you know, he goes on this, talks about his trans friend, Daphne, and that, you know, she would have laughed at all of his jokes and blah, 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 blah. And then at the very end of this whole entire thing, he says that, you know, she she died. So Daphne's no longer with us because, you know, she committed suicide. That's not the correct phrase anymore.
Oh my gosh. What if this is retirement plan? And he wants to go out the most controversial way, right? And then he gets all this hype, right? He gets all this hype going, and he's like, and everybody's like watching, like, oh man, you know, this involves the black community, this involves the LGBT community, like both, like all, and then everybody's like has their eyes on, and then he drops another special, right? And with a deeper message, and then he's like, but I'm canceling myself. Or I'm like, you're right. I'm like, this is my retirement.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess that'd be one way to go about your retirement. You could do it in a lot less problematic ways.
I know, but comedians, right, and problematic, and like they say controversial things.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, there's one thing.
Yeah, but don't attack marginalized groups that don't attack other groups.
I think there are more. There are more tactful ways of going about it, you know, where in like your jokes don't play off of stereotypes and things based around like the trans or LGBT, basically just the LGBT community, that are like talking points for like anti-LGBT and anti-trans bills and laws. You know, a lot of the jokes that he jokes, and I say that very loosely, a lot of the jokes and conversations and things that he was saying in his special, right, are about, how this person like looks trans, or this person like appeared trans, and blah 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 blah. When, you know, and that, while seems innocent on its face, right, you think about situations like what is happening in Texas with, I think it's HB 57, where they're basically like, it's a trans exclusionary bill that's going to limit access to healthcare for trans people and limit like athletic ability or athletic activities and things like that for trans youth, right? So I think there's a tactful way to go about it. You know, and I also think it's pretty bold for a comedian such as Dave Chappelle, who's made most, if not all of his money playing to the plight of the black community and making the plight of the black community a joke for white audiences. To suddenly be up in arms when he gets called out. Right, because you got to think about it. right?
Well, I mean, like, think about all the times he's been called out. He's been called out for, this isn't his first
Oh, of
controversy.
course.
Like, and then like that's why, and then like everybody's all like shocked. Everybody's like, "Oh, he doesn't care." Oh, and then I'm just like, of course, of course he's not gonna care.
Well, of course he doesn't care. He got his dollar, like he got his buck, and now that's the end of it.
Yeah,
So
that's the way the cookie crumbles.
right, so it's like really the only people who are losing in this scenario are members of the trans community,
Yeah.
right? And
Um,
I think that's the biggest issue, is that like he doesn't lose at all. If we remember back in, I forget what year it was, when he canceled himself. Remember that he canceled himself from his own show. He took himself out of his own show and walked away. And there's a couple of very important statements here. He walked away from $45 million, right? A $45 million contract for his own show. One, because he didn't feel I think he said that he didn't feel comfortable with the direction the show was taking, because he didn't feel comfortable with how many members of his production team, so that includes like producers, staff, writers, the whole nine. He didn't like how many of them, who majority of them were white, mind you, how many of them were laughing at the jokes that he was putting out.
it's like, hold on, that's not for you to laugh at. Yeah,
But remember that the majority of his writers,
yeah,
and also all of his writers at the time were white people. So it's not like he he set himself up for that. And then also, just a reminder to everyone, if you're able to walk away from a $45 million contract, you're probably doing okay. Right? You're not in a financial situation where like you're struggling. If you can just turn away from a $45 million contract and say, no, I don't want this $45 million contract, you're very clearly doing just fine. Just as a thing to think about. Because give me one person who has little to no means, won't be able to support themselves, who would turn away from a $45 million contract. Tell me one person. And you can call me a liar. But yeah, so, I think I've said most of all that I needed to on that topic. Mostly because,
people needed to know.
Yeah,
That's why I asked.
I think as I said, the main issues that I take or hold with it is that, that he makes these jokes at the expense of the LGBT community. He tries to absolve himself of all of these things by using this anecdote of like a good friend of his who was trans, but then killed herself, right? And then to continue making jokes at a friend's expense without his friend Daphne being able to step forward and say or either defend herself or actually be able to say whether or not any of this stuff was funny or true.
Makes it even worse.
Right? And then for him to follow up with all of that by giving out the list of things that he's done for Daphne or done for her, he set up a college fund for Daphne's daughter, and it was basically like a, look at all of these things that I've done for my one trans friend.
But not the trans community.
Right. So like he's basically giving us I have a black friend. Look at all of these things I've done for my black friend. Therefore, I'm an ally. So, and of course, the people who are going to come to his defense are the people who don't understand, either don't understand nuance, have no concept of nuance, right? Can't take a step back and actually like think about the things that he's saying and its impact on the community, like on the affected communities as a whole, and like how I saw a meme on Facebook, not a meme, but a post on Facebook that was probably taken from Tumblr or Twitter, talking about that episode of SpongeBob, where I think SpongeBob makes I think it's SpongeBob makes jokes about plankton. And I think that's what it is. And after Plankton or somebody tells him to like stop doing it, he continues. And it only makes matters worse for Plankton because people already hate him or whatever. Something along those lines. And like SpongeBob's just like, oh, come on, it's just a joke, whatever. I don't mean any harm. Like, we're still friends or whatever. But then, it just gets worse. So it's basically the same exact situation. That was a bad example. I can't remember exactly what the conversation was.
I got like the people get the premise though is don't say bad things about bad people. I mean,
well, good people, right? And especially like in a time where you have a marginalized group, and let's not forget here that the LGBT community also, for somebody, this is the other issue. I'm going to jump back. Okay. So the other issue that I have is that, as a entertainer and a person with status who is so for, the advancement of people of color, it doesn't do the black community any favors by demonizing a marginalized group that is part of your community. Right? Like,
you said it.
Right? Like, I think in the context of this conversation, what he does that is also very dangerous is he talks about the trans community as though like the trans community is strictly white, and talks about the LGBTQ community as though it is like white, period. Right? Ignoring the fact that there is intersectionality there, that there are black LGBTQ people in this world. Hello. Hi. My name is Harrison. How are you? Right, so that like it's one of those like one hand giveth, the other taketh away sort of deal. He's like, yes, go black people, I'm rooting for black people, but fuck all the LGBTQ people. So when I just want to, and what's important about that, when rates of murder for black trans women. I think black trans women are what is the number? Like 15 times more likely to be murdered than their white counterparts. Trying to look up the statistics. Sadly, 2021 has already seen at least 41 transgender or gender nonconforming people fatally shot or killed by other violent means. And I'm pretty sure the vast majority of them were Black, Indigenous, or people of color. So, you know, it's a dangerous game we play, but
Yep. That shouldn't be played
at all. But speaking of, there are two other bits of information or other bits of news that I wanted to talk about. First, have you been following any or all of the oh god, what the hell? Lil Nas X and whatever the hell his name is.
I've heard about it. I haven't digged too deep into it. I haven't, but I've heard about it.
Hold on, I'm gonna pull this up because it's wild and crazy. Hold on. So for everyone,
Boosie, right?
yeah, whatever.
Boosie.
Yeah, Boosie, whatever the hell his name is. I don't know.
Boosie bad ass.
Yeah, or whatever. Let me see if I can crop this really quick so that people can see. Hold on, image. Well, basically what happened was there's this, you know, he's a rapper or whatever. He's like 40 years old or something. And to say that my man is obsessed, actually obsessed with Lil Nas X for literally no reason is an understatement. Like, my dude is actually obsessed. Boosie wakes up every single day feeling some sort of way about Lil Nas X. So I'm gonna flash this on the screen, and then I'm gonna.
Wait, didn't it get all started when when Lil Nas tweeted that, like, oh, he was like on his album or something, or on his next song?
So it's
like, never, not ever.
So it started a little bit before that. So I think it was after his SNL performance, which was amazing. Highly recommend if you haven't seen Lil Nas X perform on SNL. It was so good. But Boosie basically comes out of nowhere and says, you know, it's only a matter of time before Lil Nas X like starts giving, you know, some sexual stuff to one of his dancers on stage. Blah 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 blah. And then Lil Nas X, who is of the musicians out there, the world's biggest internet troll, and we love him for that 100%. Huh? Well, I wasn't like, maybe. Sorry, my husband's talking in the background. Josh, if you want to be part of the show, you can come sit over here. No? Okay. Well then, shh. See that? That's how I control this situation. But basically, Lil Nas X comes back at him and says something along the... Or he puts out an Instagram live where he's saying that he's working on a song with Boosie or whatever. And then Boosie comes out with this statement on Twitter Stop trolling me. F word, LOL, you a whole B playing with a gangster, SMH. You can keep sucking D and getting F'd in your A and peace. And you hashtag you hate yourself. I would too if I was you. LOL, Nas X. If you hashtag commit suicide, you would do this whole world a huge favor. Nobody wants you here. So yeah, that had happened.
The whole commit suicide. Wow.
Yeah, so
big mad.
he was at like this 20-year-old for literally no reason. Like, he's mad. And so, you know, of course, Boozy wakes up every day. Like, imagine being 40 years old and having a black, queer, 20-some-year-old just living rent-free in your mind. Just living rent-free in your mind. He woke up and thought about, what if I was Lil Nas X? You know, I would hate it. You know, and this is the thing with, you know, the vast majority of homophobes, and I think there was actually a study that was done by someone that said, like, people who tend to exhibit classic cases of homophobia tend to have some internalized feelings about themselves in regards to their own sexual identity. ... All I'm saying is that Lil Nas X, this beautiful 20-something-year-old black queer angel, is living rent-free in this 40-something-year-old's mind for literally no reason. And then what was even better, I forget what, because I follow Lil Nas X on Twitter.
Like, what did he come back with? You know,
he had something to say. It was really funny. What did he say? Oh, he because he performed at EDC Las Vegas, and he posted a video of him playing to like this sold out arena saying, "When everybody wants you here." Oh man.
You know, EDC is massive. EDC is massive. It was, so there's like thousands upon thousands of
for real.
That's
it's so dumb.
Oh man,
it's so dumb.
You know he's mad.
He's big mad. And I mean, the problem, you know, Boosie, unfortunately, you know, he can't even, I think recently he got mad because like he couldn't sell out a show or something and only sold like 300 tickets to one of his performances.
Yeah.
So that feels bad. Feels bad for him. The other little bit.
Why is it? You know, he's. Why?
I don't know, but it sucks to suck, I guess. Pardon the pun there because of that tweet. But, you know, I was going to go into another topic, but we'll save that for our next episode. Or maybe like a quick chit chat about it.
We'll leave a cliffhanger.
Yeah, here's the cliffhanger. It's really exciting stuff, actually. I don't know if you've been following the news recently, but I'm just going to put this little tidbit up here and just read the headline from the Rolling Stone. There's an exclusive report that the January 6th protest organizers say they participated in dozens of planning meetings with members of Congress and White House staff Two sources are communicating with House investigators and detailed a stunning series of allegations to Rolling Stone, including a promise of a blanket pardon from the Oval Office. And there happens to be video evidence of this happening as well. So stay tuned, y'all, because it's about to go down.
What? Like a pardon, like to pardon the protesters at January, the Oval Office with the protesters meeting. Tune in next time on This Is Bullshit.
It didn't obviously happen, but you know, crazy things happen. So that is, as is the case, that is our episode for today. We didn't even get to talk about our Patreon. So if you want to support us here at Next to the Floor, support the stream, support our rants about various topics and stuff, make sure you head over to patreon.com/next to the floor. The link is in the description, and well, it's just in the description. Just check it out in the description. It's also on all of our socials. Become one of our Patreon sponsors. There are 3 different tiers. You get a whole bunch of videos and things. All of our videos from Florida are up there. So if you want to watch us do some dancing, go check it out. It's pretty cool. It's only for Patreon subscribers because I'm too embarrassed to show anybody else. I'm too embarrassed to show everybody me yelling at Gary while we're dancing. So that's a story for next episode. Maybe I'll play.
You can't even notice. You don't even notice.
I'm pretty sure I literally stood there and said "stop" out loud in front of one of the judges. I just said "stop," and that was that.
I'm like, okay.
Maybe I'll see if I can put together a quick little clip.
I was struggling. And you know what? It didn't even look like I was struggling. I was struggling in my mind. I was like in a bad place at that moment in time. I was struggling.
Yeah.
But look at the video, I was like, okay, all right, that's not even that bad. It could have been worse.
It could have been a lot worse. Was it great? Absolutely not. But become one of our Patreons. Check it out. Patreon.com/next to the floor. You can also check us out on all of our socials. Our Facebook page. If you're watching on Facebook, thank you. That is facebook.com/next to the floor. You can check out our Twitch. You can check us out here at Next to the Floor, or on the Twitch where I'm currently streaming, which is twitch.tv/xxheyjxx. I should probably put like a little social tag or something on this current page so that people can see my socials, but here we are, or whatever. And then what else? We have a youtube.com/next to the floor. So check us out on any of our socials there. You can check out Gary on Instagram. Hit him with that. What's your tag there, Gary?
_good _guy _Gary. Put a lot of underscores because there's a lot of people that like good guy Gary in that some order. It's a lot of. I don't know. I think Garys are naturally good. I've never met a Gary that was like bad.
Well, you very clearly haven't met yourself, so. I'm sorry, that was rude.
I'm bad. Not bad, but I'm bad.
Yeah, you're something.
Anyways, _good _guy _Gary mostly post dancing pictures, and like sometimes I go out dancing with my friends. I'll post that. And you get to live through the eyes of a professional ballroom dancer who just goes out and goes to bars and dances whenever they want, to music that whatever is on. So It's interesting.
It certainly is. And with that, that's our episode for today. So remember, y'all, it costs you $0. Absolutely $0 to be a good person. Make sure to love each other, and we will see you in November for our next episode.
Yes.
Yay.
And it's gonna be a little bit colder.
I know. I saw my breath outside today for the first time.
Talk about it. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Goodbye. Bye.
It's cold.
Goodbye.
I don't want to talk about it. It's getting too cold.
Goodbye.
Really cold.
Bye now.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
It's freezing.
Bye.